bad thing about that word command is it seems to conjure up a lack of freedom. This is what I command you. This is what you have to do. This is what you ought to do. And it's not that the apostle, I think, is urging us to understand. He's urging us to understand that how the Father loves us, which is completely gratuitous. It's grace personified. As the Father loves the Son and the Son loves the Father, and they form the Trinity, that circle of ineffable, infinite love is what he's saying we must try to replicate in our own lives. Living love as a gift, something that we have been given, and it's so powerful that we give it automatically to others, or not automatic in the sense that there's no mind to it, but we give it with that power to others. I'm going to start with a short reading from this book, Give Us This Day, or Give Us This Day. It's by Robert Ellsberg. He writes about the lives of the saints. Some of them are not canonized. Most of them are not. And this is about Elizabeth LeSueur. Her title is a servant of God. That's the first rung on the ladder towards canonization. This is his statement. Elizabeth, who was born in Paris, married Dr. Felix LeSueur when she was 22. While she was a devout Catholic, her husband was a determined atheist. Over time, as his convictions hardened, he became the editor of a militarily anti-Catholic newspaper. Yet his efforts to shake Elizabeth's beliefs only strengthened her resolve to study and deepen her faith. Though these tensions in their marriage caused her bitter suffering, Elizabeth came to believe the salvation of her husband was her actual life's mission. When she confided to him the firm belief that he would one day become a priest, her husband ridiculed the notion. But 2 years later, as she was dying of breast cancer, he became increasingly impressed by her courage and equanimity, realizing that she drew on this strength from her strong faith. Elizabeth died on May the 3rd, 1914. She had for years been corresponding with a wide array of spiritual seekers who thronged to her funeral. Felix was overcome to discover a note in his wife's spiritual diary, in which she offered her sufferings and her life for his conversion. He went on to edit and publish her spiritual writings. In 1923, he was ordained as a Dominican priest, and her cause for canonization is in process. These are her words. I know that no cry, no desire can call. I know that no cry, no desire, no call proceeding from the depths of our soul is lost, but all go to God and through him to show who loved us, to show who moved us to pray. I know that only God performs the intimate transformation of a soul, and that we can only but point out to him those we love, saying, Lord, make them live. I thought about that in today's gospel reading when Jesus is trying to convince the disciples, in this case probably the apostles, of what friendship means. And if you read the text closely, it doesn't say that they're friends at that point. He's hoping that they become friends. Because to become friends means that you become capable of realizing that there's a parity. Friendship is the one human relationship based on equality. Jesus wants the disciples, his chosen ones, to realize their complete equality with himself. That's going to take a while. It's going to take a long while. And we can see in the Acts of the Apostles that we hear daily these days, how it does take hold. This is another quote from the same book. It's by a priest, Charles Casey. He's talking about last week's gospel, about the fruit of the vine, the vine with the many branches. He says, this gets, I think, to the word command. It often seems to me that religion has been hijacked by moralists. Sermons seem more like moral exhortation than the proclamation of good news. Even the general intercessions are often muted into unsuitable hints that we or others pull up our moral socks. I have nothing against moral teaching in moderate amounts, but when it begins to dominate, it forces us to choose between denial and despair. We can either close our eyes to our shortcomings or allow our failures to rob us of hope. The perfect moral life is not the foundation of Christianity, although it may be its ultimate goal, reached about 10 minutes before we die. The essence of Christian religion is our being grafted into Christ, allowing the true vine's energizing sap to circulate through our veins so that all our thoughts, words, and deeds are progressively upgraded and we become more Christ-like. It is a slow process, but eventually yields fruit and continues to do so for as long as we remain on the vine. We are not the source of our own virtue. It is all gift. I think Jesus' attempt to convince us that he wants us to be friends with him goes on forever. It all starts 2 chapters ago in John's Gospel with the washing of the feet at the Last Supper, when he called them his friends and says to Peter, I'm going to wash your feet. And Peter says, no, you're not going to wash my feet. And Jesus goes on to express a bit of disappointment, and Peter says, well, not just my feet, but everything. There's a line in a poem by the Jesuit priest. Christ lives in 10,000 places, in limbs, lively in limbs, lively in eyes, not his. Not his. Hopkins. Christ lives in 10,000 places, lovely in limbs, lovely in eyes, not his. That understanding that Christ is a part of just every fiber of our body. Friendship. We think of friendship as being so important in our lives. I guess perfect friendship is not easy to grasp onto, but it's there for us to try to model our lives after. Friendship with Christ. That's what the Eucharist is about, huh? It's our wedding feast. We say just at the beginning of communion that we're going to feast at the table of the Lamb, which is from the book of Revelation and has to do with the wedding feast of the Lamb and Jesus. The Lamb and Jesus. Christ the bride, Christ the groom, the Lamb the bride. We're part of that way in which Jesus works in our world in very unseen ways that we only get a glimpse of every once in a while, and yet we praise that. We thank God for it. We see it in terms of what we constantly celebrate. Behold the Lamb of God, behold him who takes away the sins of the world. Blessed are those who are called to the supper of the Lamb. That wedding, that connection of the divine and the human that penetrates one another. So as we look in the mirror the next time, know it's your face, but hidden right in there is the face of Christ. Christ is there. Christ is a part of who you are right now.